This video is about doing a literary analysis of a song or song lyrics. So a literary analysis is something that happens when someone reads a work of literature and looks at the smaller parts of the work of literature to see what the bigger picture is, what the universal truth or theme that is being expressed is. Now, a work of literature could have more than one theme, and you may find that to be true in the song you analyze, but you should focus on one theme for your analysis. Otherwise, you could write a book about one song. So to keep your paper the length that's expected to be, 2 to 3 pages, you want to keep it to one theme. So one of the things that you can do to discover the theme as you are thinking about the song is to ask yourself, how does this work of literature, these song lyrics, mirror things in real life in a way that shines a light on a problem or highlights something good perhaps, but something that says something that you might recognize in real life? So the first thing you're going to do is a close reading of your song. You want to actually print out the lyrics of the song. The song is the primary source. So we're going to be writing about the song, and primary means first, it just means the main source. And that's the source we're analyzing. This is true in all literary analyses. So print out the song lyrics. Number the lines of the lyrics, so just by hand when you've printed them out, because you're going to be quoting from the primary source, the song lyrics, and it will work the way you would quote a poem. And so you will reference the line numbers, not page numbers or anything else. Read the title of the song and make note of what the title might hint about the content of the lyrics or the theme of the song. That could be helpful. And do read the song lyrics as you are listening to the song several times. As you are reading the lyrics, you might discover some unfamiliar words or words that are used in unfamiliar ways in that context. One of the easiest ways to find something valuable to write about in a literary analysis is to find words that have more than one meaning, because that really adds a layer of interest to the overall text. Circle any allusions to another time, place, person, event, or another work of art in any form. Allusions are really helpful if you want to analyze historical aspects of a song, for example, and that's one of the most useful ways to find a song or decide which song you want to analyze, because historical allusions are easy to research, and because you are required to use 3 secondary sources as well. And secondary sources are going to be the sources that you use to write about the primary source or the song. The secondary sources could be just about that aspect of history. As you go through as well, you're looking for literary devices, so underline symbolic words or images. Look for metaphors and similes. And make note of anything that makes you question why the lyricist put a word or phrase in the song. Some of these questions can help lead to good search terms as you are trying to figure out how to research some aspect of the song. Because really you should go beyond just typing in the song title and counting on someone else to give you an interpretation. I really want you to give your own interpretation by using search terms that relate to either allusions to historical people or events in the song, or different metaphors or things that make you feel like something more is being said than what is literally being said in the song. So to find good things to think about and address in your analysis, you want to ask good questions. Okay, so a lot of these questions relate to the things that you've already circled or underlined or highlighted when you were doing your close reading. So feel free to pause the video, read through the questions, read through any of the bullet points so that you can have a good idea about how to approach this, this analysis. And I will also post these detailed directions in Blackboard for you. You're going to do some research, as I said. You're going to be quoting from the primary source, but the secondary sources as well. You're going to have 3 secondary sources, and these items in this slide tell you more about how to use search terms that will get you good secondary sources. So as you do your research, you really need to do your works cited. So don't put it off. Everybody hates doing works cited. Do it first. If you don't do it as you find your sources, you may never be able to get back to that source in the same way again. And if you use Alabama Virtual Library, you'll be able to use the Cite tab on the right to pull up the correct source citation, which will be MLA format. So be sure that you are using the one that says MLA. And I've posted an example for you of what I found for citing an article from a website, because you are certainly going to be using online articles, I know. And also an example at the bottom there of how to cite the song lyrics, because you're going to have to find your song lyrics somewhere. So you put the artist or the writers. If you can't find the writer, I suggest you look on Amazon to see if writers are mentioned there. But definitely at least the performers, put either the writers or performers first. And then lyrics too, and then in quotation marks, the song title. Song titles go in quotation marks, just like titles of poems. And then the website where you found the song lyrics. Genius is a website that gives song lyrics. Then the date that the song lyrics were published on that site. And that's probably the release date of the actual thing. But in this case, it's not. Because the Beatles wrote that song long before 2017. So that is the date of publication on that website. And then the URL, so the address bar, copy and paste that to the end. Now you want to identify a theme after you've done your research or as you're doing your research to help you create a working thesis. The working thesis can help guide your research, but because it is a working thesis, you're going to continue to work on it and revise it to make it fit a more specific focus for your essay. So the theme can be thought of as a universal truth, okay? And I think of themes as things that we value, like relationships, respect, love, growth, experiences, social status, power, you name it. You can find lots of different intangibles like that you can talk about as a theme that's expressed by the song lyrics. So look also for literary devices, because this is a literary analysis. You can Google literary devices or go to literarydevices.net to find scads of literary devices. I have mentioned some for you already, like allusion, symbolism, metaphor, simile. Those things are all literary devices, including repetition. And in a song, of course, you're going to have most likely a chorus where repetition automatically happens. The chorus generally repeats. And so look at those words that are repeated to help you understand what a possible theme would be. And you can certainly use repetition as a literary device as you are discussing the theme of the song. So here is a good place to pause and write down some of these little templates that you could use for creating a thesis statement for any literary analysis, really. This is really a super basic way to talk about a work of literature. But again, as you are beginning to understand literary analysis, it's okay to start out simply. And as you develop as a reader and a writer of works of literature, you are still going to be evolving with the way that you think about those works of literature and what you have to say in your argument, which is your thesis. A thesis should be an arguable statement, something that you have to prove. And you're going to do that through your use of secondary sources and your own understanding as you keep considering the work of literature, or song in this case. I hope you discover something new about the song you choose. I hope that you see it in a new way, or some part of it in a new way, even if you choose your very favorite song. So, research. How do you put the research into the analysis? As I'm researching, generally I find things that in the secondary sources that remind me of something from the song. And so I kind of make it like a little puzzle in my head. I match those things. So I don't want to quote something from the secondary sources that is really something from the primary source. So if the secondary source quotes the song lyrics, I don't want to use that as my quotation because I also have to quote the primary source. So I want to find things in the secondary source that help me say something interesting about the song. So find things that express ideas or interpretations that are worth discussing further in your essay, and do that. So pause here and make some notes of some of the things that you can look for to quote from the secondary sources. Once you have done your research and made some connections between the song and the secondary sources that you have found, outlining is the next step that helps put it all together. And I do have sample outlines for you can use, certainly. But the point of the outline is going to be to help you organize your writing in a way that makes sense to you and to your readers, hopefully. That's the key, right? Writing is about communicating to a reader effectively. So make sure that you use a quotation from the primary source and a secondary source. You will have 3 total secondary sources, but you'll need to use one secondary source to say something meaningful about the primary source in each body paragraph. That's why you matched up information from the secondary sources with something from the primary source, and that helps prepare you for figuring out what order you want to discuss each part of the song in. You do not have to talk about the words of the song in the order that they appear in the song. You could start with discussing the chorus and then go on to discussing the lyrics. That might be a good way to introduce the broader theme because it's often repeated in the chorus. So pause here and think about outlining, drafting, and revising, which is sort of a cyclical thing. You don't have to outline first and then draft. I tend to draft first and then outline and then go back and fix my draft so that it's in a good working order. When you are writing, make sure you use present tense verbs when you are talking about the song. So the vocalists sing, that sort of verb tense is mandatory for literary analysis. Now, when you're talking about things that happened in history, you could go back to past tense. So it can be a little tricky, so watch for that. Here are some examples of literary present tense. Pause and read. And then here is a sample of how to quote lines of a poem. Make sure and pause and read this section.